Hello dear students, today's lecture is about the anti-diabetic drugs, and in this lecture we will go through the drugs belonging to the category of insulin and sulfonylureas. So the first compound is insulin, which is a natural hormone found inside our body. The insulin is considered as the awardee of Hall of Fame molecule for being the first protein for which the chemical structure and the molecular weight was determined. I repeat once again that this is the first protein for which the chemical structure and molecular weight was determined. If we look at the structure, we will find that the insulin is composed of two chains. The first chain is called as chain number A, which consists of 21 amino acids, and then we have chain B, which is made up of 30 amino acids. So the upper chain is a chain B, while this blue chain is chain number A. As I mentioned, the chain A, that means the blue chain, consists of 21 amino acids, and chain B consists of 30 amino acids. Both the chains are linked by a sulfide bridge. The sulfide bridge is made up of sulfur atoms. So here we find that the first sulfide bridge is between A7 and B7. That means the 7th amino acid of chain number A and the 7th amino acid of chain number B are bind with each other by a sulfide linkage, which is more especially called as disulfide linkage. Once again, we have one more sulfide linkage over here, and this is between A20 and B19. This is the 20th amino acid of chain number A, and this is the 19th amino acid of chain number B. So this B19 and A20 are bind with each other by the other sulfide linkage. Insulin in pancreas exists in hexameric form. That means the hexameric means 6 molecules of insulin are contained in a polymeric form, and this form consists of the zinc ions. This is very important point in view of the GPAT examination. We must have to keep this point in remember that the insulin exists in its hexameric form, and one hexamer is associated with zinc ions. For human insulin, after its release, the half-life is just 5 to 6 minutes. So this is about the human insulin. Now the question arises that how this insulin is secreted. The insulin is secreted from the pancreas through their beta cells, which are part of islets of Langerhans, and one international unit of insulin is equivalent to 40 microgram of insulin. Once again, this is the question of GPAT examination. Many times it may be asked into the examination that one international unit of insulin is equivalent to dash grams. So you must have to keep this point in mind that 1 international unit is equivalent to 40 microgram of insulin. Now here is a picture of the pancreas. The pancreas are attached with the stomach. By binding with the stomach, the pancreas has a major role in giving out the pancreatic juice, which help in digestion of the material we consume in our day-to-day meal. Now in pancreas, there is a set of cells. Here you can view this set of cells over here. This particular portion, a group of cells, is called as islet of Langerhans, and these pink colored cells which are called as the beta cells, and these beta cells are associated with secretion of insulin. Now whenever there is deficiency in the endogenous insulin, there is decreased consumption of glucose, and ultimately there is increased level of glucose inside the blood vessel, and the increased level of glucose inside the blood vessel gives out to some diabetic complications, as I mentioned in my previous lecture. So to treat that diabetic complications for the type 1 diabetes, there should be needed the source of exogenous insulin. So prior to the discovery of insulin analogs, there was two major sources of exogenous insulin. The first one was bovine insulin. That means the insulin which is isolated from the bovine animals. And the next one is the porcine insulin. That means the insulin which was extracted out from the porks. Now why this is so? This is because it is found that both the bovine insulin and the porcine insulin have the structural similarity with the human insulin. Now this table will show you the structural similarity between the human insulin, bovine insulin and the porcine insulin. In human insulin, at position number 8 in chain number A, we have a threonine amino acid. At position number 10 we have isoleucine amino acid, and in position 30 of chain B we have a threonine. In case of pork, threonine and isoleucine both are available at these positions, position 8 and 10 of chain number A. Only difference is that the threonine in human insulin is now changed with alanine at position number 13, and the rest of the amino acid sequence is as it is. Only this minor change is there. With respect to the bovine insulin, the source is the beef, and here we have the changes. Instead of threonine we have alanine. Here also instead of threonine we have alanine, and instead of isoleucine at position number 10 we have a valine. So we have the human insulin have the high degree of similarity in insulin with the porcine insulin. So due to this discovery, most of the exogenous insulin was extracted from the porcine and the bovine sources. But due to some limited uses, some other modifications are needed for the supply of more and more insulin analogs which may have the high potency. So it is found in biotechnology experiments that the insertion of synthesized genes in the chain A and chain B into the gram-negative bacteria E. coli and use of fermentation procedures may produce a good quality of insulin analogs. So it is found that the 5 types of insulin analogs may be introduced by this technology. So the first insulin analog which was introduced by this technology was named insulin Lispro. Now just look at the name Lispro. In this case, the chain A of insulin is not changed, while in chain number B, the B28 proline amino acid is now changed with the amino acid lysine. That's why the name is given Lispro. That means the proline is now changed with lysine. We have one more modification. The B29 lysine is changed with proline. So ultimately lysine is converted or changed with proline, and proline is converted with lysine at the position number 28 and position number 29. So with this we obtained a very good insulin analog, insulin Lispro. Now the next is insulin aspart, which is simply called as aspart. Here also there is no change in chain number A, while in chain number B, the B28 proline amino acid is changed with aspartic acid. That's why the name is given aspart. The next one is glulisine. Here also there is no change in chain number A. In chain number B, the B3 valine amino acid is changed with lysine, and the B29 lysine gets changed with glutamic acid. That's why the name is given here glulisine. That means the lysine is changed with glutamic acid. The next insulin analog is glargine. Now here we make one change in chain number A. The A21 arginine is get changed with glycine, while we have to add 2 amino acids in chain number B. As I mentioned that chain number B consists only of 30 amino acids. So if we add 2 more amino acids, that is B31 and B32, and if the amino acid is arginine, we got this wonderful insulin analog glargine. The next one is detemir. So here also there is no change in chain number A. Now look at the name detemir. Here this date stands for delete. Delete means to remove. So we have to remove the B30 threonine amino acid. So when one amino acid is removed, there will remain only 29 amino acids. And on 29th amino acid, we have to add one long chain carboxylic acid. In this case, it is C14 amino acid, which is commonly called as myristic acid. So from myristic acid, we will use the suffix mir. So dete means delete and myr means myristic acid. So we have to remove one amino acid from 30th position, and we have to add a carboxylic acid, myristic acid at position number 29. So this will give us detemir. So these 5 insulin analogs are highly useful in place of insulin, and all are administered through intravenous injections. The next category is the oral hypoglycemic agents. That means the drugs which are used to lower the glucose level and which can be given orally. The oral hypoglycemic agents are used for treatment of type 2 diabetes. And from this category, the first class of the drug is sulfonylurea. As I mentioned in my previous video, sulfonylurea are divided in two categories, the first generation and the second generation. So let's look at the first generation sulfonylureas. First, we will go through the mechanism of action of this compound. Now, through this picture, you can visualize the mechanism of action. The sulfonylureas bind with the sulfonylurea receptor on the beta cells of islets of Langerhans. Inside the cells, there is continuous movement of ions. So, whenever the sulfonylurea derivatives bind with sulfonylurea receptor, there is blockage of the potassium channels, and once the potassium channels are blocked, it gives rise to a condition which is called as depolarization. And we know that in condition of depolarization, there is increased entry of calcium ion inside the cell. So whenever there is increased calcium ion concentration, the secretory granules of insulin tends to move towards the surface or the boundaries, and there they burst out to release the insulin molecules. In this way, more insulin can be released out, and that insulin is utilized to combine with the extra glucose molecules present inside the blood vessel, and in this way the increased level of glucose can be controlled. So here are some example of the sulfonylurea antidiabetic drugs. The first two drugs, the tolbutamide and chlorpropamide, belongs to the first generation compounds, and these are their structures. If we look at the structures, we find that there is presence of this sulfonyl group attached with this urea structure, NHCONH. So due to this, these compounds are called as sulfonylurea. If we look at the name tolbutamide, we can easily guess the presence of this feature and this feature over here. This tol here stands for toluene. So toluene is a phenyl ring attached with a methyl group, and this but stands for presence of this butyl group. So presence of butyl group over here and presence of a toluene structure on the sulfur gives rise to tolbutamide. Likewise, we have chlorpropamide. This chlor stands for this chlorophenyl group over sulfur, and this prop stands for presence of this propyl group onto this nitrogen. So these are the IUPAC names of this compound. For IUPAC name, the basic nucleus is benzene sulfonamide. That means benzene ring attached with SO2 and this NH. This is considered as the basic moiety present over here. So here on this nitrogen we have butyl amino carbonyl group, and on this phenyl ring at position number 4 we have a methyl group. So the IUPAC name will become N-butyl amino carbonyl 4-methyl benzene sulfonamide. Likewise, the name of chlorpropamide is 4-chloro N-propyl amino carbonyl benzene sulfonamide. Now we have other compounds, for example glipizide and glimepiride. Both of these drugs belongs to the second generation sulfonylureas. If we compare the structure of first generation and second generation, we will find that in this nitrogen of urea we have a cyclohexyl group over here, and on this phenyl ring we have somewhat very bulkier portion. So in this case the portion is aryl carboxamido ethyl group. This CONH is called as carboxamido, and this CH2 stands for the ethyl alkyl group. So these two are the example of second generation sulfonyl ureas. Just look at the structure activity relationship of sulfonyl urea antidiabetic drugs. As we mentioned that the basic structure present over here is a phenyl ring substituted with a alkyl group at this position, and we have a substituent over this nitrogen. So the basic functional moiety present over here is called as 1 aryl sulfonyl on 3 alkyl and urea. So it is found that the R1 substituent plays a major role as it gives out to the lipophilic property. It is found that when the alkyl group over nitrogen is methyl or ethyl, that means the lower alkyl groups, it gives rise to inactive compounds. That means none of the sulfonyl urea is found to be antidiabetic having the CH3 or C2H5 group over this nitrogen. It is found that the maximum activity is obtained when this alkyl group is either propyl group or butyl group, and in case of second generation it must be a cyclohexyl for the maximum activity. When the R1 group is substituted by an aromatic group, it results into introduction of the toxic compounds. The R group, which is present on the benzene ring, have a very great influence on duration of action and dose. For example, in case of chlorpropamide and tolbutamide, it is found that chlorpropamide have longer duration of action. We may compare that the chlorine may have the atomic number of around 17 and atomic weight of around 35.5, while the methyl group in tolbutamide have the weight of around 15. So this, due to presence of chlorine, the chlorpropamide have longer duration of action than tolbutamide, and it requires a very small dose also. Only 250 mg of chlorpropamide is equivalent to 1000 mg of tolbutamide. When the alkyl group is aryl carboxamido ethyl, it generates the second generation compounds which have the higher potency than that of the first generation one. The examples are glyburide, glipizide and glimepiride. So this second generation compounds have a very high potency and they require very little dosing as compared to the first generation. For example, the glipizide require only 5 mg of dose. That means for this 5 mg is equivalent to about 1000 mg of tolbutamide, while glimepiride is still require very little dose of 2 mg. So dear student, that is all about the insulin, the sulfonyl ureas, their structure and the mechanism of action and structure activity relationship. Thanks for watching the video. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.